are trying to make sure that we're making America great every day in every way. And the best way to do that is to stop talking about discrimination and start talking about the nation. We're coming together as a people in spite of what you say. Thank you, gentlemen. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Members are reminded to address their remarks to the chair. The gentleman from Texas reserves, the gentlelady from California.
Thank you very much. The gentleman, Mr. Kelly, please do not leave, because I want you to know that I am more offended as an African-American woman than you will ever be. And this business about making America great again, it is your president that's dividing this country. And don't talk to me about the fact that we don't understand. We don't understand on the no, I will not yield. No, I will not yield. No, I will not yield. Don't tell me that we don't understand that we don't understand. That's the attitude that's been given toward women time and time again.
Gentlelady will suspend. The chair wishes to remind all members that they are to address their remarks to the chair. Gentlelady will continue.
Chair, but don't stop me in the middle when you didn't stop him in the middle. And so I shall continue. Don't you dare talk to me like that and think that somehow women don't understand what goes on the floor of automobile dealers.
Minded to direct her remarks to the chair. The
And
gentlelady
I
will
am saying
continue
that
in
I
order.
will continue to do that. However, I don't.
All right, greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth and a day of falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad.
And I'm Sister Deborah Muhammad. Welcome to the Community Defender Talk Show.
And of course, we have a wonderful show planned for you. There is so much going on, so much that has been predicted. And of course, this is what the prophets of God predicted would be in these last days.
Right.
As black people in America are being readied to be delivered by God back to who they really are. Mm-hmm. And it is unfortunate that these things have to occur. But we are, as a people, getting a significant or serious wake-up call as it relates to our standing and position in this country and exactly what this country actually is, its true nature, its true character. To announce our wonderful topic, and I just want to lay this out there for all of us who struggle for justice, who pray for justice, who want what is right, understand that we have no righteous opposition. Everybody that opposes what is right, if they oppose the remedies for those things which were done wrong in the past and continue to be done, whoever they may be, understand that they tend to be absolutely wicked almost to a man. And so we're going to lay a few things out this evening. Of course, we are, of course, saddened to hear about the shootings that have occurred in Texas as well as in Ohio. These things are horrible to hear about, to see. But of course, it is as it was with Columbine, Paducah, Kentucky, Pearl, Mississippi. There is an evolution of violence because when you sow violence, you begin to reap, as the Bible says, what you sow. And so we have to emphasize those things we don't want to emphasize in America, which is love. Black people have to, if you don't understand that we need to unify today and emphasize what we have in common as a people rather than our differences, we're going to do our very best in the remaining moments of this program to wake you up and others. But again, we're in a critical and crucial time. And just remember that we have no righteous opposition. Go ahead, Queen.
Well, you know, today, Brother Ishmael Muhammad, the national representative, the national assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his national assistant, was speaking today, and he was speaking on the subject as you were talking about as well. And he talked about that if you notice in the Bible, it talked about a man and you know, in terms of a man of sin. He says, but as you get to the 66th book of the Bible, he says that they no longer talk in terms of men. He says they talk in terms of beast. So the man has become become a beast in the book of Revelation. And, and this man has a number, you see, and it's 666. It's the number of a man and the number of a beast. So what we're looking at now is not, even though human beings are performing these horrific acts.
Well, they're in human form.
Yeah, in human form.
But they're not
But
actually
we're
humans.
now looking at people who have become beasts.
No doubt about it. And of course, the beasts of the field. If you go on the Serengeti, the lion will kill and eat something. But then once it is filled, it'll stop killing.
That's right.
It seems that the appetite in America for blood is absolutely off the chain. Now, I want to deal with something that occurred locally before we go national and international, and that is the recent settlement and the statement by the Baton Rouge police chief in regard to the Alton Sterling murder that was done by a Baton Rouge police officer and Blaine Salamone. And I wanted to, do we have a graphic of him? Blaine? Yes. Yeah. Let's go ahead and put him up there so that now the thing I wanted to let everybody know is that the police chief, and this of course is the guy who shot Alton Sterling 6 times. Now, interestingly enough, there has been a clamor about what the police chief said. The police chief apologized to the family of Alton Sterling and apologized to Baton Rouge in general. And this is what he says. He says, our past requires that we see this Alton Sterling incident not as an isolated one, but what it truly represents. It's an example of a well-documented pattern of behavior by a man who should never have worn the uniform, period. We have to call it for what it is. We have some who believe that Salamone's behavior was acceptable because he encountered an armed individual. There's a reason we train officers on how to respond to certain situations, and our job is to make sure he's behaving in the way he was trained, said Paul in an apology issued to Baton Rouge residents. Now, it goes on to say Mr. Salamone's ill temperament and disregard of the rules was evidenced before his employment with BRPD. Mr. Salamone failed to report he had such an arrest on his application to the police force. So it was broken down that there was an arrest, he had some sort of domestic violence thing, something that was going on that he had that was unreported on the actual application. Now, what they're saying is that there's been what they call a character assassination of Blaine Salamone. It says, on behalf of the membership of Baton Rouge Union of Police, we are thankful this appeal process has been resolved. We feel the settlement is in the best interest of Blaine Salamone, the Baton Rouge Police Department, and citizens of Baton Rouge. We are both angered and saddened with the character assassination of Blaine Salamone, previous administrations, as well as past and present members of the Baton Rouge Police Department. Now, if we can, let's go ahead on and roll the video, because they're saying that there was an assassination of the character of this particular officer. That can't be true. Now, if you want to have a good reputation, you have to do good things. If you kill somebody, you curse somebody, you put a gun to their head and say that you're going to blow their effing brains out, you may not have a good reputation.
Right.
If you threaten to kill them and then moments later you kill them, then somebody's going to say, hey, maybe you're not such a nice guy. And his attorney told everybody that he was offended by those remarks. But what about the family who lost a loved one?
Children.
What about his children? What about their future? The idea that you're still alive and Alton Sterling is not shows that we just have a disconnect in the way that we think. There's not, in other words, there's a significant incompatibility with our thought processes, those of us who want justice, and those of us who want to maintain the status quo. There is a significant disconnect, and I don't think it's a difference that we can reconcile at the present. You have the footage ready? Go ahead and roll it in, and you see whether or not this was a sane person.
We begin tonight with the growing outrage after a deadly police shooting, the images now seen by millions across this country. And tonight, a new video has now emerged. Police officers in Baton Rouge answering a call that a man was allegedly waving a gun. The initial video showing the officers tackling the father of five, taking him down, then moments later, firing multiple shots. Oh. Tonight, the Justice Department is now on the case as that city now braces for more demonstrations. And we have just heard from the officers for the first time. ABC's Alex Perez is on the scene.
Tonight, new chilling images of that deadly shooting captured on cell phone outside a Baton Rouge convenience store. One officer pinning 37-year-old Alton Sterling to the ground while another kneels on his arm. You can see one officer drawing his weapon. Within seconds, gunfire. Sterling dying there at the scene with gunshot wounds to his chest and back. An officer then pulls something from Sterling's pocket. Protesters taking to the streets, calling it an execution, after this video of the shooting was shared by millions on social media. Oh. It was just after midnight Tuesday morning when police got a call about a man selling CDs outside the LUS Food Mart brandishing a gun.
He pulled a gun on a complainant and told him he couldn't be around there.
Police say Sterling was armed when the officers approached him and that their body cameras dislodged during the altercation.
You know, he shot fire. I can both officers okay, put that down. I didn't even know.
Abdullah Muflehi, who recorded this video, said Sterling seemed confused about why police approached him.
He was asking him while they were throwing him on top of the car. He was asking him, what did I do wrong?
Sterling was a friend who had sold CDs for 2 years outside his store.
He's never violent or somebody to threaten anybody.
Sterling's family demanding answers, his 15-year-old son Cameron bursting into tears.
The individuals involved in his murder took away a man with children who depended upon.
All right, good deal. Well, and here's the thing. Those kinds of actions do not reflect a person. You are going to be judged by your actions. And as a community in Baton Rouge, as a community in Louisiana, those kinds of actions taken by this individual are not what we want, and they are reflective, in my view, of a demonic spirit and a demonic mindset, that you believe you can just walk up to somebody, put a gun to their head, and that's what wasn't in that footage, but at some point we'll show it to you, where he just goes up, puts a gun to the man's head, just starts cursing him out. And then later on, they issued a statement which was actually a lie, and then it later came out with the Justice Department. Once those videos were released, the story changed. It was Murphy Paul, and I don't know if we have a graphic of him. We should have a graphic of the police chief. But the brother said the right thing, and in this instance, he did the right thing by coming out and trying to make sure that this person was not on the Baton Rouge Police Force. Now, in the article that I read earlier, part of the reason for the deal was Salamone wants the option of not having been fired from the BRPD so he can continue in law enforcement work. So my Facebook page, I asked the question if he already had another job lined up, but he wants to leave an option, in my view, of terrorizing another community. And I would hope that Sid Gotro or Cases or nobody in our area would open up an opportunity for somebody like that to be in uniform on their force. But those kind of things do happen when it comes to white folks and the murder with badges of black folks. That happens all of the time, that they just simply recycle these officers, kind of like they do white NFL coaches who fail. They just ship them to another city. They might actually be, and it says it in the article, that it's important that if he wants to continue in law enforcement work, for him to just be resigned rather than to take the firing off of his record. So the saga is not over, is what I'm saying. There may be another community that is subjected to the presence of this very mentally unstable individual whose mentality is absolutely crazy. For him to say he was offended rather than to apologize for what happened. The fact that he's alive and free, that should be enough for him. That should be enough for the union of police. But they not only do they want to brutalize you, but they want you to like it. They want you to love the foot that they put in your behind. That's the sickness of what we're dealing with. And it is that kind of mindset that is irreconcilable to the mindset that those who fight for justice would have. And so I just wanted to lay that out there. We can't reconcile those differences. We can't get over those differences. They have their view, we have our view, and there's no way to reach a middle ground. You want to be able to kill a black man whenever you want to. We want to be able to live freely without being killed, and there's no way to reconcile those things. You know, people talking about let's talk about, we need a conversation about race. No, we don't. We already know what it is in America. We know that our differences cannot be reconciled. The question becomes, what are we as a people gonna do when we are dealing with a recalcitrant local, state, and federal government as it relates to that? And the one time that something is done correctly, that something is handled with tact and with respect for those who are suffering, the police union, which seems like a league of demons, comes out against such a very conciliatory and factual and well thought out statement on behalf of the police chief. And so it doesn't look like, I just don't think that this thing can work. I don't think it can work with that kind of mindset present and dealing with black people. I can't see how we can reconcile those differences because we're so far apart. We want to live and be free, and they want us enslaved and dead. How do you reconcile those things? You can't. I don't think you can. I think it's just that serious. Now, you had something?
I do. You know, when you talk about the police, once upon a time on the side of the squad cars, you would see protect and serve. You remember that?
Yeah, you still see that lie sometimes.
Oh, okay. Sometimes
you still see that lie
I
sometimes.
haven't seen it, but the point is that a lot of the police officers are ex-military, right? And so now you're looking at the militarization of the police department. And, you know, in military, that's, you know, it's a theater of war. And so you have, you know, your side, and then you have the enemy. And so when you take these people out and you militarize them, and you say that, you know, the enemy is, you know, urban youth, that you teach them how to conduct urban warfare tactics, so to speak. And then you send them out, already giving them this mindset, you know, of whatever the agenda is, you know, shock and awe. They send them out and do these raids, just like as if they were in, you know, a theater of war. And so you put these people out on the street, and they see the black people. You know, of course, black people have been made the face of so-called crime, making black people, specifically the black male, an enemy. combatant, so to speak. So you already go to a crime scene, go to a scene, regardless if it's a crime scene or not. You could be driving, sitting, sleeping. It doesn't matter what it is. They see you as the enemy. And so when they come into that arena, they already are prepared. Literally, their mindset is prepared to kill you. They come in, they put their hand on their revolver, their service revolver. They're already ready.
It's no longer revolvers are old. Everything has clipped. That you're talking about 40 years ago. No police officers do not have revolvers.
They're guns. Okay. But they come in already ready. They unsnap the holster.
They're ready to kill.
And why is that the first thing on your mind?
The Honorable Louis Farrakhan told us that when they come at you, they are coming to kill you.
So
that's what he said.
What we're looking at is that, we literally are in war with the people, like you said, that have in their mind that they want to kill the quote-unquote enemy.
They want to kill the black man.
Yes.
That's what they want to do.
And then you have, like you said, the police union. In this case, it's almost like, the JAG court. It's like you commit the crime and you also adjudicate the crime within, your own circle. And so it's like if you want to make right whatever it is, then you have, a circular system where, you can maneuver it however you want to. So with the police union, it should be about what's right if you're a police officer. Not about that if you're a police officer or the blue code, like some kind of fraternity or a sorority or some, what I'm saying?
These people are not service-oriented at all. They want to control, dominate. They are really sadistic individuals that relish the idea of making other people suffer under their oppression. It's a sickness that travels within these various police departments all over America, where you have this sadistic mindset. And this young individual, I don't know if we can. He doesn't really fit my definition of a human, because a human is somebody with some sort of compassion. A human is somebody that doesn't walk up to somebody, put a gun to their head and start cursing them out, threatening to blow their brains out. I mean, that's not the appropriate way that you act. And but for Murphy Paul, the black police chief, because Dabney didn't release it, we may never have known the sickness of what was going on, because the official story was that he had a gun when they walked up to him. Now, according to what I heard from his relatives, he didn't have a gun. That may have been something that was planted, because if you notice, the video was real clear on the hand pulling. But hell, if it was in his pocket, you didn't know it was there anyway. And if it wasn't, you understand what I'm saying? Then so it's all suspect in terms of that.
Right.
Officially, he was armed in terms of the official story, but we are absolutely not sure about that, based upon the fact that they lied until that last video came out that showed how he interacted with Alton Sterling from the very beginning. Let's go ahead and take this call, and then we're going to try to move quickly to those other issues. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the Community Defender.
Hey, how you doing, Brother Darrell?
Doing awesome, sir. Doing awesome. Go ahead with your comment, good brother.
Whenever I see the police officer or police car, what I usually do is, like they're across from me, I'll just get up and I'll leave. I'll go to my car, or if I don't want to bite and I see the police in the area, I'll just get up and I'll just leave. But about last week, I did that, and then the police officer was approaching me, and then he asked me, he said, why when you see me coming, do you get up and you leave? I said, man, I don't want to have anything to do with the police. I don't want the police around me. I don't want to be in the vicinity. I said, because whenever the police approach a black person, something bad always happens. I mean, just watch the news. Just see what's going on in the papers and stuff. I said, I don't want y'all anywhere around me. But don't be offended for that, And he was like, well, we don't do anything. We don't do that what you see on television. And I'm like, well, man, I can't tell. I said, look at
Well, there've been three taser murders right here in Lafayette. Two or three.
I said, I don't want y'all around me.
Yeah, yeah. They tased one guy 9 times, and I think it's heart stopped. I think there've been 2 or 3 taser murders right here in Lafayette. So you're absolutely right. And these taser murders always involve somebody black. I mean, that's just what it is. So I think that you're right to be concerned about your safety, because it seems that officers don't contribute to public safety, that they are a threat to public safety very often. They certainly were a threat to Tamir Rice's safety. They were a threat to Alton Sterling's safety. They were a threat to Oscar Grant's safety. They were a threat to the brother in New York who was Eric Garner. And of course, the police union is upset that the judge recommended that officer be killed, and they're saying he did nothing, not be killed, but be fired. They're saying that he did nothing wrong. But when you choke somebody to death, the last time I checked, choking somebody to death is wrong. I don't know if they got the same view of it. But go ahead, caller.
Yeah, and the way they treat, for all these white people that don't know, the police treat white people different than black people. For all of them out there that don't know, I'm around I have Caucasian associates or whatever. But when the police approach them, it's always nice and polite, and they're respectful. But when police approach a black person, it's like, man, it's like a life and death situation. You know.
No doubt about it.
And when you black, it's like it doesn't matter what you do. You know, you can follow the instruction to the max. You know, something will always go down. That's why, like, whenever I see him, whatnot, I cross the street or I get on my bike, I get totally out of the vicinity. And then for all the whites out there that's listening, there's 2 different approaches that these law enforcement officers do. I'm sorry.
Well, look, let's get to that, because we got a shooting in El Paso.
Well, before we get to that, we recently had a sister in the Nation of Islam that had a little small traffic accident with a Caucasian man. And so what happens is that the sister gets out the car, and when she gets out the car, the Caucasian, she said, well, I have to go back to my car. Let me go get, my purse and my keys. She goes back to the car, and she's about to get the keys out. And so the man reaches in on her and grabs her keys. And she's like, give me my keys back. He said, well, I think that you were about to leave. So she gets out the car, and she's like, give me my keys back. And so this is an older white man. And so what winds up happening is that they get into an altercation. This man literally wrestles the sister down to the ground. And there's some other people that are bystanders that are looking. The sister that recorded it all, she was in her apartment across the street. So anyway, long story short, the man pulls a gun out on the sister and holds the gun up to the sister. And so what happens is that, it's like, she was tussling for her purse, but people were around. People started coming around, and he's waving his gun. And she says, the person that's taking the video, you pulled your gun. You're trying, you're threatening her with the gun. No, I'm not. So the person who was videoing it called the police. She had already called the police. And so what happens is that when the police arrive on the scene, the girl who was filming it says that this man has a gun. He has a gun. And the white man walks up to the police car with the gun in his holster. And she's like, he has a gun. He pulled it out on. They still don't do anything. They don't even seem like they're even threatened.
Yeah,
and then he takes the gun out his holster and puts it on top of the squad car, and they never touched it.
And if a black person,
they would have been shot the moment, like Tamir Rice.
There you go. Now here is where I'm going. We got a caller we're gonna go ahead and take right quick, and then we're gonna deal with that whole question. Go ahead, caller. You on there with the community defender?
Yes, Brother Darrell. I want to quickly add, and I'm gonna let you go on to the next segment. We having right there in our neck of the wood in Fort Allen, another horrendous shooting where the West Baton Rouge Sheriff Deputy executed a warrant, and whatever the outcome was that a young man had a bullet go through the back of his neck and actually dislodged his spine, according to the coroner's report. That is so troubling, that shooting. And then you get into the story of one of the parties involved with a deputy who was convicted from the West Baton Rouge Sheriff, who was convicted of having oral sex with the girlfriend of that person who was killed. So that is a troubling story. Pay attention. But you know what? Why is it when they execute warrants or go to arrest you, it always wind up, somebody always wind up dead? And look at the photos yesterday that I'm glad our people understand, where they put up the photos of the killer, the mass shooter who killed 20 people, walking to Walmart with his earplugs and his shooting glasses on and his Russian-made rifle, and no one said a word, which I know that's an open carry state. And he wound up in the back of a police car after killing 20 people, treated so nicely, walked to the corner and put in the back of a police car, when Alton Sterling wound up on the ground with his blood, his heart bleeding out. Look at people need to go back and look at the stories and compare those two pictures. That blatant racism, plain as just the nose in your face. And I'm going to let you go to your segment. I just want to add those parts. Thank you.
Absolutely, and of course, yeah, that is something else that happened in West Baton Rouge Parish. The sheriff deputy did shoot somebody from behind, and the fact that the entry wound was in the back of the neck shows, and the person was unarmed, shows that they were executed. That's what it initially looks like, and of course, the parents, the mother is demanding answers, the family is demanding answers. The NAACP is over there on the ground, doing their best to deal with that situation. Ben Crump was also in town as well, the civil rights attorney, and all of these things continue to happen. And when things begin to happen every day, you have to leave from the stupid belief that it's an isolated incident. Now, if we can, let's go to the graphic of the person who shot the 20 people in El Paso. Did we ever get the graphic for that? You couldn't get that one? Yeah, because I wanted a picture of it. But the thing was that there was a photo of him in the back of a police car, unhurt, unbeat, and after killing 20 people and injuring, 27, wounding another 27 people. And he reportedly said that he was trying to kill as many Hispanics as he probably could. It was already on the radio. There's been an eyewitness account of a man who was standing right next to a black man, and he said the black man was shot and then shot again. So it's a situation where this person who had apparent white supremacist views and apparent your typical Trump voter probably, who was there. You're a typical Trump voter. And you have these racial things, and up in Ohio, the preliminary information is that had a racial motive up there in Ohio. So racism is almost an inextricable part of America.
It is, not almost.
But let me say this. The Bible says that Babylon could have been healed, but she was not. So when I say almost, it's that the arrogance of America keeps America from allowing itself to be healed.
But you said racism.
Right, well, absolutely.
It's almost inextricably bound.
That's right.
Inextricably bound. It is.
Right.
It's in the very fabric of American
society.
Hey,
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you. The only thing that I'm doing, this is all I'm doing, is not shortchanging the ability of God if there's a willing party. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe America will ever heal itself because it's too arrogant. If you don't go to the doctor, you don't listen to the doctor, you'll always remain sick. What we see with the two police departments, the one in New York, the one in Baton Rouge, is the identical sickness. One in the South, one in the North, but they're all sick. And they all believe, whether it's North or South, that a policeman can kill a black man either by choking him, shooting him, tasering him, whatever means they want to, and it's okay, and they're going to defend the wickedness of that white man. But understand this, in Marksville, when that white man tried to run over the black officer, and they opened fire on him,
Think about that.
that within 32 hours, those two black officers were not dead, they were in jail. And one was sentenced to 40 years, the maximum that he could get for that, and it didn't take white people protesting for that person to be in jail, really when their life was actually in danger. But because a white boy was killed, you see what I'm saying? That is and the system works that way. And the message that was sent to all black police officers, look, you are still a Negro even though you have a badge. And if you try on us what we do on you, you're going to be the loser.
That's right.
And every black officer got that message. You understand me? Every black officer understands that if I do that, if I shoot somebody that's unarmed because I quote unquote feel threatened, that the court system, the police union that's defending Salamone is not defending the black man who almost got run over by an erratic white man who refused to respect black law enforcement officers. That's right. That's the story I heard, and I believe it more than likely to be true. I wasn't there, but hey, we don't operate like that where we just open fire on cars. That's not something that black folk really do who are police officers. So, but it is something that happens a lot in Baton Rouge. It is something that happens a lot in a lot of these places where they just open fire on moving cars, claiming that the car itself in motion is a weapon, and then bam. Yeah, okay. The director has just said they killed a young lady in St. Martinville. Brobridge, okay, for a moving vehicle. But those defenses were not allowed for these black officers who had those same defenses that they could have raised. The law does not work the same. So a man who kills 20 people is sitting comfortably without a bruise on him, without a scratch on him, in the back of a police car. Dylan Roof was not only put in the back of a police car comfortably, but because he was hungry after killing all those black folks, they stopped at Burger King to make sure that his stomach wasn't even growling on their way to the jail.
But you never finished the Ohio situation.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm not going to go too far before the facts come out.
But you never said what it was supposed to
Well,
be
supposedly it was, the rumor is that his sister was dating a black man. That was the rumor. I don't know it to be fact. And she was one of the victims of him in the shooting. She was one of the people killed. He's 24, she's 22, he kills her. So it kind of makes sense, but until the facts come out, we can't just lay all of that out there like that. But the bottom line of it is, more than likely, that was also what? Racially motivated. And don't get it twisted now. I believe that the best woman for a black man is a black woman. I mean, I believe that myself. I'm just not going to shoot one of my relatives that does that. You understand? I'm not so insecure in my blackness that I'm going to kill you because you make a choice that I significantly disagree with. But the bottom line of it is that we have a real sickness that has always been there and was always going to come out, but I think that Trump is creating an atmosphere for people to feel like they can just come out. But keep in mind, mass shootings occurred under Obama. Mass shootings occurred under George W. Racist people have been going crazy for years. This is not new to Trump. I think, this is just me, that Trump is articulating the basic feeling of the majority of Americans. They don't like people who are not white, and they want to put people who are not white in lower paying jobs, in jail, or in the grave. They do, it's a situation where if you are a non-white, you're not really liked, loved in this country. And if you're black, the darkest of colors, you really are hated. And the thing I want to say is that neither one of these people who did these shootings were immigrants from Mexico, which is what Trump wants you to focus on. None of them were immigrants from Mexico. None of them were Muslims. None of them were connected to the Squad. None of them were connected to Ilhan Omar. They weren't connected to Rashida Tlaib. They weren't connected to Miss Presley. They weren't connected to AOC. But more than likely, they were going to vote for and probably already did vote for Trump. That's what you got to understand, is that mindset is the common denominator for this mass shooting violence. And while you may not like me because my name is Darrell Muhammad, or you may not like Sister Deborah because her name is Deborah Muhammad, the bottom line of it is we are not the ones going into Walmarts, killing innocent people. It is the white nationalists that are doing it. And if you're going to profile somebody who's the most likely to be guilty. And that's certainly not us. Go ahead, Carla. You're on the air with the Community Defender.
Yes, a fantastic program, as always. I wanted to say that the police officer, and to all police officers, they some goddamn punks. They are some punks because they are trained professionals that you can't even take down a man, a black man. A black man is always the threat. That's because they some damn punks. When Timothy McVeigh bombed the whole building, they thought it wasn't the white terrorists that we so boldly see here in the United States in the United States. But I just wanted to say, just keep on educating our people, and we really appreciate this show. Thank you so very much.
And we definitely appreciate you. The thing is, though, and we want to emphasize that none of these people were Muslims. They weren't Mexicans. They weren't black folks. These were white male Republicans, okay? These were your Mitch McConnell types. These were your, the guy from South Carolina. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Lindsey Graham, the warmongering individual who wants to, he wants to go to war with Iran. You got Steve King. Both of those representatives with the last name King tend to be a problem. But I wanted to make that point. But I also wanted to move. Do we have the graphic of the Jewish lawyer? What's the guy's name? Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz, who has said some very bad things about Minister Farrakhan, but he defends Jeffrey Epstein and his sex trafficking of minors. He doesn't want to debate Minister Farrakhan because he can't be in the same room with Minister, but he can defend murderers, rapists, and from what the article said, he supposedly got a massage while he was at Epstein, but he kept his shorts on. How old was the person that massaged Jeffrey Epstein? Were they 12? Were they 13? I don't know. The only thing he said was that he kept his shorts on. I don't know. The only thing I can say is that the way male underwear is made, you can have access to things and also have your shorts on. I know it's a family show, but and you've raised some sons, so you know how the underwear is made, that you can gain access to certain things, even though they're still on. So we don't know. The only thing I'm saying is that we don't have any righteous opposition. When you find those who oppose Minister Farrakhan, who oppose they oppose the Honorable Farrakhan, they oppose everything that's right, they oppose justice, they oppose the rights of black people to live free and dignified lives. All of these people turn out to be horrendously wicked. We do not have, and I just want to say this to black people, we as a people do not have righteous opposition. And whenever somebody opposes you, the person sitting on the other side of the table who opposes you is a wicked demon 99% of the time. The other 1%, they're an Uncle Tom. So between the demons and the Uncle Toms, that's pretty much the only opposers that we have. And because we said on last show that God is in control, and because God is a righteous God that loves righteousness, then ultimately we will win because we do not have righteous opposition. We're going to win. But when we win, we're not going to be vindictive in our victory.
Right.
The entire world is going to benefit from the victory of the black man in America. All of the righteous will benefit. The bottom line of it is, and keep in mind that as a people, we will only remain in this condition as long as we are without the knowledge of ourselves. As long as we will not take the knowledge of ourselves, as long as we call ourselves something that we're not, believe we're something that we're not, and we just have to tell our people the truth. I know that you say you're an American, but you're not an American. There is a narrative in the Bible where there were some people inside of Egypt for 440 years. First they had been there 400 years, then Moses preached 40 years and they began to come out. So they were there in Egypt for 440 years, yet God did not consider them to be Egyptians. I want y'all to check that out. There were some people kidnapped and brought to Babylon, but Babylon, God did not consider them to be Babylonians. Just because we're in America, we have to ask ourselves the question, not from a standpoint of a sick love for a system that we're trying to assimilate into and it's never going to work, but from the standpoint of logic. We're not Americans. We're not American. Get that through your head. You live in America, and every piece of land that you step on can be yours because it belongs to the God that backs you. But this system that is called America, you're not a part of that system, nor will you ever be. You can be a part of the prison system. You can be a part of the political system and sell your people out, but you can't be really a part of what they call America. It's almost like having your account frozen and claiming to be a millionaire and your account's been frozen for 400 years. Are you really rich? Your rights have been frozen for 400 years. Your privileges have been frozen. Your humanity has been frozen for all of this time. They don't consider you one of them. You can fight in their military and help defeat their enemies if you want to, but you're still not. After you come home, you're going to be just like that soldier in Texas who was beat to death and choked to death while in his army fatigues. You hear me? That's what the deal is. And many people were lynched after World War II while in uniform. A man came back from Iraq, was stopped on I-20 going through Georgia, had never been injured in Iraq, but he was 3 weeks in the hospital when the cops got him, and he was in uniform as a U.S. service member, and guess what? He was just a black man to them. And that's what we got to come to terms with. This thing is not going to work out well. The same thing that God proposed for Moses is what we're going to have to look at as a people. I know it's rough. I know you got a house and a car. I know you got some health insurance and dental. I'm in the same situation. But collectively, It's not going to work. And that's just what it is. Sister Deborah?
Absolutely. You know, like you said about the righteous opposition, I mean, we don't have a righteous opposition.
Everybody's wicked that
Everybody.
opposes us.
So, you know, it's just a situation where, you know, as you said, we have to wake up. We have to learn the truth. You know, if you want to kill a tree, and you know, in the garden of Eden, or you know, trees represent knowledge. And if you want to kill a tree, you expose the roots to the sunlight. And so that's just as it is with this system of things. You know, it's a tree of evil. You know, it's a system that, you know, everything is based on and built on white supremacy, you know. And so if you want to kill the system of white supremacy that's analogous to a tree, you have to expose the root of it to the sunlight. The root of it, you know, being the white supremacy, as you know, so well, you know, expose and elucidate on how this system is built like that. But what it is that the sunlight is the truth. And so people have to be exposed to the truth. And then when you have the truth, you can make a decision. As long as people do not have the truth, there's black people, brown people, and even poor whites. Everybody has to have to, you know, be told the truth. And then you make your decision from there. And so that's justice, is if everybody has the truth to be able to decide whether or not they want to come out of this system of doing things.
No doubt about it. And these so-called isolated incidents are no longer isolated. They're every day, they're every minute.
But our people still can't see it.
And
you know, people see this every day. They see killings every day. You know, I wonder whether or not
not only that.
Is the Walmart back open again over there in El Paso?
Well, no, because they're going to have to process the crime scene over days.
But how long do you think it's going to stay closed? Do you think they're going to close it indefinitely?
I doubt it very seriously.
Do you think people are going to stop going to that Walmart?
No.
No. So what else can you do? People see the truth, but they can't. I mean, it's in front of you, but you can't see it.
And I know that there are going to be white elected officials that say conciliatory words, that talk about coming together.
Oh, Walmart and have a sale
and a conversation on race.
You know, all that.
All of that's going to sound
good. And then
good.
we'll just be okay. And this may be even a prelude to the whole thing about reparations. You know what I'm saying? So all of this may be some kind of, you know, build up to say, okay, well, you got us. You know, a lot of us are white supremacists. So we're going to give you something, and we expect you to be quiet after that. You know,
here's the thing, though, and as we've said before on this program, that the root word of reparations is repair.
Well, we know that.
But
our people don't.
Right, and that's the reason that they're tuning in to find that out. If you're not repaired, you have not gotten reparations.
Right.
And if a damaged brain person gets a check, they're going to do the same thing they would have if they would have got the check before. So there has to be a healing of the mind, and whatever is going to repair us, which is not a check, but our own curriculum, our own education system, our own set of standards to meet our needs,
some land where we could be separate,
and our growing our own food. Those kinds of things are the things that will heal us, because you know, the TV dinners that we're eating, all of those things that we're eating, the processed food that's available in the hood, is not a healing thing. It's not going to heal us. We have to be healed on every level, spiritually, mentally, and physically, as a people, of the whole nine. Now, I'm going to say this before we get off. Everybody was up in arms last week over an old tape of Ronald Reagan referring to Africans as monkeys. Let me say this. If you're enlightened, you already knew Ronald Reagan was racist. But don't forget in 1968 when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, Ronald Reagan said he had it coming. He had it coming. He deserved it, in other words. Ronald Reagan believed that Martin Luther King deserved to be assassinated. So some of you Negroes actually went out and voted for him and thought that you were going to throw people off of welfare by voting for Ronald Reagan, that you were going to get all the lazy people off their butts. But no, you put the lazy people in office. Because what does Trump spend all his time doing? Playing golf. The lazy man is in office.
Come on.
And he wants to cut your public housing, but he's running in an election to keep his public housing on Pennsylvania Avenue. He lives in a glorified project called the White House. I just wanted to lay that out there. He lives in public housing, and he's trying to cut yours. But anyway, we definitely want to thank you for tuning in. We had a lot to cover. We'll try to get to some more of it on next time, and may Allah continue to bless you and all of our people as we greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hope to see you soon. Keep tuned in.